And it's a it's a road of easement. There was never any dedication. It was viewed by the Board of County Commissioners back in the 1800s and established it 60 feet wide. And I've written a description for the advertisement that shows that it's running just to the very end. I think it's, I think the report basically speaks for itself. I have really no comments on it. There is no taxable acreage that will be affected, so it's a very simple process in this case.
Okay. Do we need to take any?
Yes. One of the budding property owners is present. I don't know if they want to say, two?
Okay.
Two neighbors are present. The township is represented.
All right. Do anybody else would like to speak about this matter? Please go ahead. Do they have to be sworn in, or is that?
No.
Okay, very good. If you would like to, anybody that would like to speak about the vacation of this road, either for or against it? You're all in favor of it?
Okay.
Yeah? Yes, sir. Okay, so let the record reflect that our Union Township trustee representative here is in favor of it, as are the neighboring people. Okay?
Can we get their name for the
Yep,
record,
sure.
please?
Let's do that.
Would you mind coming up and stating your name for the record, please? And your address.
Yeah, David Habel. My wife is Sarah Haas, and we live at 2154 Bone Road.
Okay, very good.
Angie DeMarco, my husband's Josh DeMarco, 2155 Bone Road.
Very good, thank you. All right, very good. So, would you like?
Yeah,
Right, Fred, very good.
we knew who you were. We knew who you were for the record.
Right. So is there any other thing that we have to do, Bruce, besides that?
No. You have a resolution. You can read it by title only.
All right. Go ahead. Want to read the resolution by title?
Have a
only?
resolution to declare the highway right-of-way easement for a portion of Bone Road in Union Township, Warren County, Ohio, to be vacated.
So moved.
Yes. Is that all we need to do to vacate it?
Yes.
All right.
You all were very persuasive. Thank you for being here.
Very good. Thank you this morning. You're dismissed. If you'd like to stay and watch us with this fun, you can do that as well.
So we have a little bit of time.
We do, and we have something that Melissa Boers.
We
here
need to
to
wait
present.
for
Okay.
9:15 for the next
I mean,
hearing.
We can fill,
Melissa has something to
we can fill some time here, Tom, until
What's that?
9:15 with Melissa Boers. She
Okay.
has something that she'd like to present that's,
Okay, very good.
Martin can. Yeah, that's fine.
No, come on, Melissa.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
I have these press releases.
Great, thanks.
So just a quick overview of what this is. We have a new program that we're going to push out as soon as we put this press release out. It'll be about a week or two. And it gives the citizens that we dispatch for the opportunity, a couple things. There's a first phase and a second phase, but this first phase that'll come out in a couple weeks is when they make a call to our center, then we will send a text message via the cell phone if they call in on the cell phone. And it will confirm that we have their information, their address, and that the officers are on their way. This is just a reassurance that they are getting help and it's coming. If for some reason, there's a lot of different phases that are going to be pushed out, but eventually it'll get to the point where if an officer is delayed for some reason, they'll get that pushback as well, saying officer's been to a higher priority call, but they will be on their way. They can always call back. There's a number, a non-emergency number that will also be given, so they can call. And, I mean, it's also another verification of an address. So if for some reason, you know, a lot of times they're distressed when they're calling, they might not give us the right address. We verify it twice, it still may be wrong. So when this gets sent out to them, they see it on their cell phone, that's not my address, they'll call back and give us the right address too. So then next month, when we push out this second one, it's gonna be a customer service survey that comes back to us. Be 3 quick questions, nothing big. And it, depending on the call type, depends on how soon they actually get this survey request on their cell phone to give us information back. If it's a higher priority call, they may not get it, you know, for a week or, you know, 2 hours, or depending on the call when they get it back. And then we will have some, it builds morale for the center, and it gives us a way to, you know, improve our service to them, what we're here for. So we're excited about it.
It's great.
Yeah.
And so this is, I'm just reading your press release here. This is one of the first jurisdictions in the state.
It is.
to be doing
Cincinnati
this?
has it, and they're a couple months ahead of us, and they're getting great feedback from it.
And who did you say? had-
Cincinnati.
Cincinnati.
Mhm. Yep.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be curious to see what kind of feedback that you get when the survey gets pushed out.
We'll definitely share
We can
that.
definitely help with training and those kind of things for our dispatchers
Yep.
to get some feedback. And they do get positive feedback, you know, quite often, but it's,
They get it from us, but hearing it from the community members that we're serving is great.
For sure.
Yeah.
so we just wanted you to hear about it and.
Okay, well, thank you.
Just another effort to improve the services that the Board of Commissioners provide to the community.
All right, well,
All
thank
right.
you so much. I
Thank
appreciate it
you.
very much.
Yeah.
Thank you for the information.
So I know we still have about 5 minutes here, but I have been observing over the last 4 days, county buildings, not our county, other counties, county office buildings being lit up blue and yellow in solidarity with Ukraine. And I asked Tiff if she could check with Trevor about the ability for us to illuminate our building in solidarity with those in Ukraine. The pictures are pretty, of the county buildings around our state are pretty phenomenal. I definitely recommend looking at some of those buildings. The one in Licking County I saw yesterday be illuminated. It's pretty moving.
Yeah, well, obviously, I wish we could do more than simply showing colors for people. I mean, I think that's important symbolically. It's remarkable that in this day and age, this would be happening. And I think it demonstrates not merely that a tyrant is in charge of Russia, who is willing to attack innocent people and kill innocent people, who have been free for over 30 years and independent and have a recognized independent government internationally. What's remarkable to me is that it shows that the regime in Russia and certain other countries in the world still do not care about fundamental human rights or self-determination of other governments. Ukraine obviously was no threat to Russia militarily, posed no threat. And I certainly hope, and I don't know if we can do anything else by resolution of this commission to encourage our leaders in Washington to do more to help to support the people in Ukraine against this unbelievably horrific attack upon them.
Yep.
So I agree with that sentiment, obviously, and was intending to make a comment at the end of this meeting about this. I don't know how many people, I'm sure we have Ukrainians that live in our county, but for me, the fact that any country in this day and age would go and attack another nation such as this a weaker nation, a nation that has been no threat to anyone, who simply wants to live in peace, but a country that has got the same values that we have of democracy and freedom and independence, and cherishes those rights that we cherish. And that the United States has been the beacon of hope for a long time to the entire world in support of those interests. And obviously, I don't know everything that's gone on with our government. I have watched, as everyone has, what's occurred with dismay. So, thank you for bringing that up.
I recognize it is a small show of support, but that, you said it so well. I mean, this is the seat of, our elected government in the county. And, you know, those people are, you know, fighting for their land and their freedom. And I think us standing with them in this small way is the least we can do.
Right. And I personally encourage our government to help them in any way they possibly can with the defensive weaponry they need in order to thwart this. I mean, obviously, the Russians are so much more powerful, and it's hard to imagine how the Ukrainians can hold out much longer unless they have international support from NATO and other countries. And of course, we hear that they're attempting to do that now, but it seems like it's a bit late in the day for that. Wish that had been happening for years prior to this. And I certainly am going to raise and do anything I can to support them. But I don't know what else to do. I hope that our government is taking this very seriously. It seems that they are, but it seems also as if we should have done more before this. All right, are we at the point where we can start the meeting then?
We got 1 minute.
1 minute, okay. On that wonderful note, truly is a remarkable thing. And it also shows in this world who the countries are that love freedom, are willing to respect individual rights, are willing to expect freedom of expression, and that there are other nations that should have territorial integrity. And certainly Ukraine is one of the nations that deserves that. Okay. All right, so I believe we're at the point where we can start the administrative hearing on the Sycamore Creek Reserve PUD Stage 2 in Franklin Township. And who's going to make the presentation on that?
Good morning. My name is Hadiya Lababidi, and I'm a planner with RPC. So today I'm supposed to present Sycamore Creek Reserve PUD Stage 2, but instead we would like to request to continue the hearing for Sycamore Creek Reserve PUD Stage 2 in Franklin Township. The reason for that the applicant wasn't able to obtain an approval from City of Springboro for central water service. And because of that now, we should go back in the process to PUD Stage 1 to remove one condition of the approval conditions from PUD Stage 1. And that condition, it says prior to PUD Stage 2 approval, the applicant shall verify water service and approval from the Warren County Water and Sewer Department.
Okay, so do we need to have a motion to continue this until another
I know
day?
the applicant is here.
Yes, the applicant is present.
I guess I'm confused. If we remove the condition, then does that mean that the county then would serve them? Or it's just keeping the project moving forward with the intent that Springboro will be able to do that? I see Michelle is.
I mean, yeah, this is here because like now the applicant would like to apply for like private wells for like the development. and no more like central water service. So this is a change, and this is why we should back to PUD stage 1 to remove that condition about like the approval from Warren County Water and Sewer Department. Of course, we consulted with the prosecutor office and also with zoning department, and we decided on that, and we discussed that also with Mr. Morris, and he's aware of that. The plan is to go back to PUD stage 1 to remove that condition, and also he will submit a new site plan showing the locations of the wells as well as the septic systems, because also this area is not served with central sewer. And then it will go through the process to RPC and then RZC and then come back to here for a hearing. Our plan is hopefully to schedule both hearings at the same date for PUD stage 1 and PUD stage 2 to like avoid any delay for the applicant.
All right, so now, Bruce, what's the procedure we need to follow at this point?
I would ask that you give the applicant an opportunity to be heard. And so simplistically, there's no reason to move forward on stage 2 because he cannot meet the conditions of stage 1. So in light of the fact that he needs to go back to stage 1, today you either continue this hearing or he needs to dismiss it because what he submitted for PUD stage 2 for you to review today is now changing. So the preliminary site plan that he submitted does not present, as I understand, he's going to be applying for private wells on every single lot in this proposed subdivision. So
That's
the issue
unfortunate.
today is whether or not to continue this or whether or not the applicant just simply wants to withdraw it. Because as it's presented, and if it moved forward, you'd have to deny it.
Okay, so, you already spoken to the applicant, so you know their position, but they're here today?
Yeah,
Yes.
he's here.
Okay, does the
I'm just
applicant
really
wish to come
surprised
forward?
that the city has not agreed to serve it, and so that's why I would be interested in hearing from the applicant. Given the location, I remember this process. Given the location of it, that just really surprises me, and that in this location, we're looking to put wells in.
So,
Can you please state your name for the?
yeah, Rod Morris, Associate Construction, 31 Eagle Court, Carlisle, Ohio. Yeah, I have water on the property. It's your guys' lines. Springboro is denying the water. So obviously, we're back to square one with that.
When you were here last time, you told us that they were gonna provide you with water, I thought.
They hadn't responded to our
Oh, is that
request,
it?
so, yeah.
So
There's
now they've
apparently,
responded?
there's an agreement between you guys. Are you aware of the agreement?
Well,
So,
remind us.
so this agreement dates back to the late 80s, early 90s, Bruce?
Yeah, it requires Springboro to consent to it.
Yeah, so
For
there
us to
are
be the
water
provider.
lines. We provide all the services in terms of testing, et cetera, but it's actually, we purchase water from Springboro to service the customers in that area. And the agreement requires Springboro to authorize approval of any new lines or tap in to provide the water to that area.
So it's
And
a
my
wholesale
understanding-
water
We purchase wholesale
agreement,
water.
not a retail
Correct.
agreement. So for us to be able to comply with the agreement, we have to have Springboro's consent to buy water, to provide water to this subdivision, and apparently they're not inclined to do that.
Did they tell you why they didn't wanna do it?
It's all political. We know that. They want the property. They want to develop it. It's right next to their industrial park. It's all political. I mean,
This feels that way.
I have rights as an owner. So that's why I'm going back to you guys and requesting to put in wells now because I have rights, and,
Do you believe, has there been any discussion with the authorities from Springboro about this?
yeah, there was no reason given that was, legitimate. I mean, it was just, it's not in the best interest of Springboro, so we're not gonna do it, so.
Well, if they know that we're going to proceed in a different route, do you think they might change their mind?
I'm not really sure, yeah. So I told them, just to let them know that we've already purchased the property. Once it was rezoned, we purchased the property, and our intent is to develop that property. It's 19 lots, it's 19 homes. It's not 100 homes, it's not 120 homes, it's on 42 acres. I'm asking to build 19 lots on 42 acres and put in private wells if I have to, because I'm gonna develop this ground, so.
All right, well,
That's
and you
my-
have the ability to do that, I take it.
Yeah, I mean, that's our intent. That's what we do. We have to make a living, and we have rights. We own the property, and we're gonna pursue trying to get this done. So if that, we built homes in Carlisle. That's where we're based out of. I put 200 wells in those areas. If that's what we gotta do, that's what we gotta do. But it doesn't seem right when the water line passes through our property to property owners to the west that are allowed to be tied into it.
Is the water line actually over your property or in your property?
Yes, it connects to
So it actually goes, there's an easement on this land that you now own that has a water line going through it,
yes.
really?
And I distinctly remember this zoning hearing, and I distinctly remember the township being here. And they were in favor of the rezoning, which weighed heavy on me because they were trying to protect their property from being annexed into the city, which the city has said that they want to do. And I don't know what we're able to do. We may not be able to do anything, but this definitely is property rights. To me, feels like that. It feels like using big government as a way to keep you from doing what you're trying to do, which I think your request was really reasonable, and you were amenable to conditions that we put on there to protect the area. So, I mean, I guess if the question is to continue it, to give you the ability to be able to have those conversations back to the stage one, to see if maybe there's a way to find a path forward, I certainly would be in favor of continuing it.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously between you guys and Springboro. I'm just a third party
Well,
here.
it's not actually, obviously, the Springboro, if they've got a contract where they supply water to an area that we're responsible for, which is what this is, and they have the right to consent, so that contractual right of consent is lawful.
Right.
I don't know what the rationale is or whether this decision was made by the Springboro Council. Do you know if that's the case? Was
No,
it presented to the council?
It was not. It
Was
was
this decision made by the city manager? of
city
Springboro?
manager. Yep.
And has there been discussions with the city manager about this, between you and that city manager, or anybody that you know of?
Just email request. I contacted the engineer.
This
and,
property was up for sale, and you bought it when again?
we purchased it in January
Okay?
after the rezoning was complete, before we realized that Springboro was going to deny the water. So, but
Uh-huh. And, I mean, Springboro could have bought the property, but they didn't.
yeah.
All right, well, I'm sorry to hear that.
Okay.
I'm of course in favor of providing you with your request either for continuance, or do you want to withdraw?
No, continuance.
Okay.
It's our intent to develop.
Well, we
the
need to
property.
select a date if it's going to be continued. We need to select a date certain,
So if we-
otherwise he'll have
Okay.
to re-advertise.
All right, and of course, what I think they're hearing, you heard what staff mentioned, that they want to do the PUD Stage 1 and the PUD Stage 2 at the same time.
That's fine.
Okay, because as I understand it, the reason why we can't go forward with the PUD Stage 2 today is because now there is a condition of the PUD Stage 1 that cannot be satisfied, which is to provide water
Right.
from Springboro.
Right.
And therefore, you're gonna go back now, you're gonna resubmit plans to do wells, you're gonna get approval for PUD Stage 1, and then you're gonna have, with that, you're gonna be able to proceed with PUD Stage 2, and if I understand it, all of this is gonna be accomplished by going
Sorry.
through the process and then coming back to us at one time. Is that possible, Bruce?
No, it is not.
Okay,
First of all, I would recommend you don't make the assumption that he's entitled to a PUD Stage 1 rezoning. He may have issues because this development, as I recall, will have on-site wastewater disposal systems, and having water, a well and an on-site system I'm sure there's some approximate location can be problematic. Number two, Stage 1, if you do grant that, it does not take effect because there's a 30-day referendum period. So you wouldn't be, I mean, you could open the hearing, I guess, but you couldn't approve it at the same time because you got to wait out the 30-day referendum period before the Stage 1 approval would take effect if you do approve it.
okay, so I just want to make sure that whatever we do is lawful and appropriate. Obviously, we can continue this Stage 2 process, but this Stage 2 process is effectively, as currently positioned, defunct.
Correct.
You understand that? We can't proceed with this, the Stage 2.
Why is that?
Because the Stage 2 process was based upon a condition in your Stage 1 approval, which was that you would get water through Springboro.
So you're basically saying I can't do a septic and a well on the same lot? on a
No, we're not
2-acre
saying that at all. What I think that our legal advice is telling us is that your process of Stage 1 has got to be gone through and been approved and accepted and go through the process, and it cannot be done simultaneously with Stage 2. I believe that's what we're being told.
Yeah, but to further explain, in light of his concern, you presented an application for a Stage 2 preliminary site plan. Your preliminary site plan does not show wells on all 19 lots, correct?
Yeah, we're getting that revised.
Okay.
So-
So as it is currently submitted, the commissioners, if it went forward today, would have to deny it because it doesn't meet that condition from Stage 1. So you can revise it and resubmit it, and they may want to continue it in progress, but we're going to have to continue it out, I'd say to be safe, probably 90 to 100 days to complete that process, unless somebody thinks it's already on track and can be done sooner than that.
Well, and I want to accommodate this gentleman any way I can. I want to expedite it any way I can. I want to make sure that this process is done because you've been working on it for some time. I don't want government to be in your way, but the process has got to be lawful. It's got to be appropriate.
I understand that, and I'm willing to follow whatever I'm told I need to do. So,
Has there been an application for Stage 1 filed yet?
Yes, sir. There's been an application for Stage 1. We don't have the site plan yet, but we
Okay.
have the Stage 1, so we are able to go ahead and we can start the process. Adele and I had spoken about timeline, and we felt we could get it back to the commissioners.
But like last Tuesday of April or first Tuesday of May.
Okay.
For Stage 1.
All right, so you've already got the application, and has it been referred to the zoning commission yet?
No.
Okay, so can't be any sooner than 20. It has to be within 20 to 40 days. And you think you can get it on and get it referred back to the commissioners. Then the commissioners have to advertise it, schedule their hearing, and then you've got 30 days after that from the day if you were to approve it, before it takes effect.
And so the purpose of continuing this hearing would be in the case that Springboro should change its mind, they could move forward with this proposal, correct?
That, even if they didn't, I assume this has already been advertised, so to avoid the expense to this gentleman of having to pay more money to get it re-advertised, if we can come up with a date today to say we're going to continue this out so many days, date certain, time certain, so that he doesn't have to pay to re-advertise it, that would benefit him.
Okay, well, let's do that. And I'd also like to suggest, so is there a date that we can do that by, Bruce, that complies with the law? And complies?
We were thinking the last Tuesday in April or the first Tuesday
For
Was for the stage one.
having it heard here then? Can you get it through the process that quickly?
Yeah, because RTC meeting is on March 24th, and then after that for RTC, it will be like 1 week or? Yeah, 1 week after that.
So, March 24th is the RPC meeting?
Yeah, March 24th.
So when's
is
the
RPC
zoning meeting?
We can have ours the week following.
So the 30th,
Uh-huh.
or I'm sorry, the 29th is the Tuesday.
Yes.
So if you file it with me that Friday, advertise on April 10th, we're looking at April 26th, is that what you said?
Mm-hmm, yes.
Okay. So that would be for the zoning, and then we have to go 30 days for the referendum, which would be May,
Well, you've got an advertise, so you're not gonna get it until the end of April, and you've got to advertise it.
So-
And then you can't hold a hearing, sooner than 10 days after the
Right.
advertisement is
so the
published.
earliest for the referendum to take place and all the advertising and all that is gonna be to have this heard on May 31st, which is a Tuesday, May 31st, to continue this.
For it to be heard by the commissioners?
Well, for the stage two, if,
We're not talking about stage two, we're talking about stage one.
so
It come-
stage one can be heard in April.
Stage one cannot be heard in April, or are you saying it's
Last
back
Tuesday
here
in
in April?
It's back here in April.
Okay, so
Yeah.
it gets, and that includes it being advertised in the paper with 10 days for the hearing?
Yeah, that's the
Oh,
math
okay.
I just did.
All right, so
to
then
continue
add
this
30 after that.
Stage two, to be safe, would be May 31st.
Tell me what the dates are, the two dates.
April 26th and May 31st is what I just heard you say, Tina.
Yeah,
Okay?
but we can't do we can't
Do we-
set the April 26th until they
Yes,
file the
correct.
actual rezoning with me.
Okay, so what do we need to do today to comply with the request for continuance?
You could consider a motion to continue it until May 31st, and if you wanted the stage two to May 31st, and then if you needed more time on May 31st, you could bump it out
Yeah.
to a
Okay.
different day.
Do you have a motion for that?
So moved?
Yes. And do we need to do anything with regard to the stage one?
No,
Okay.
there's,
I'd like to find out, maybe this is something that we can do, but you tell me what's appropriate. I'd like to approach whoever's making these decisions in Springboro. And maybe you all can do that, because we are the service provider, but we are getting with a wholesale agreement and a contract from Springboro. And given the fact that this is in the jurisdiction that we provide, and it's where we have an interest, and clearly, it is far superior to have water from Springboro with water that's already present and on the property. And I, for one, would like to know, and I imagine I speak for our entire commission, even though Dave is not here, but given what I've heard from the sentiment of Commissioner Jones, I'd like to know from them as to why they have denied the request to service 19 homes on this property, which certainly, I cannot imagine that taxes their water system or will in any way implicate their ability to provide service to their current customers. And given the fact that those of us in government should be here to serve our constituents, and these are part of our constituents that we care about, and since we have an agreement with Springboro to provide water to this territory, I personally, and I believe I can speak on behalf of our commission body, would like to know why they're not doing it, why they're not giving consent. I would have thought that would have been a matter of course.
And we can certainly make that call.
Please, and report back to us on the result of that.
Okay.
And I might want to hear from them in person.
And the mayor works right next door, so I'm sure he'd be
It's-
happy to come over some could.
To be honest, they charge a tap-in fee to us that we pay is $4,000 or $5,000. I mean, it's $80,000 to $100,000 that would be going to them, I would imagine.
Well,
So, I mean,
okay,
I mean-
and they know that.
you know, it's,
They know that. But did you actually, in writing, request, who made the request for their consent? Was that you?
I did, I sent it to their engineer, and he deferred it to the city manager, and the city manager just sent me an email back, 2 sentences that, it's not in our best interest, and that was pretty much his reason. There wasn't any in-depth explanation as far as.
Okay, well, I believe that now we should contact them. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Anything? Okay, do we have anything else on the agenda?
No, sir, I do not have anything else.
All right, once again, I cannot begin to express my dismay at what's been happening in Ukraine. And I would say again that whatever we can do to help these people who are committed to the ideals that our country was founded upon and the ideals of fundamental human rights, and to choose their own government, to have borders that have been long recognized, and territorial integrity that has been violated in the most extreme fashion by what is now thoroughly a rogue regime and a tyrannical ruler. Clearly, this does not represent, I believe, the will of the Russian people. And I cannot express in words enough condemnation for this conduct. And I thoroughly support the people and the leaders of Ukraine. Their leader is one of the most remarkable leaders I've ever seen. His courage, after the United States offered to take him out, where he said, "I don't need a ride, I need support and help," he's going to face the Russians as his indomitable troops against all odds are currently doing. And I hope that the countries around the world will give aid to this government and to these people. And I hope that the Russian government with Mr. Putin relent. Anything else?
Amen.
Okay. Have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.